That's James's dinner for today. There's a beet hiding over there, and there's some chocolate cake hiding over here. I'm going to review Dune, and so I'm also reviewing Children of Dune, and this was a Sci-Fi Channel production, and you are probably more familiar with this Dune and this part 2, because these were out recently. And this one, well, that's just silly, right? That's actually not the same Dune at all. That's just a...
Not the same series.
No, it's just some people trying to make money off of the...
So the guy's been long enough that they can still Planet Dune. Or they
Yeah,
can kind
they
of
didn't...
steal...
Yeah.
I guess that's okay.
Okay,
I
I'm
don't
going to
care.
put that like that. We'll
It's not
see.
as though, whatever his name, Herbert or...
Invented the word Dune. No.
No.
So, anyway. Boy, that's bright. That's just shining off of there. I don't know if that'll help. It does. It does help a bit. So, I have actually reviewed these 3 before. Somebody requested...
How long ago would you say? Years ago? Or?
I don't know when they went out. Because these
when
are...
they came out first.
Yeah. So, this one's a 2024. This was... I would have reviewed it...
Recent.
Fairly, right? And this one was before, so 2021, 2022.
Still fairly
So,
recent.
yeah.
But someone made a request.
Mm-hmm.
And you're very...
And this one was 2021. So, it's... I guess they whoever was putting this out was realizing, oh, this one's coming out. We could make money off it, right?
They tried to beat them to the
But
punch, I guess. Eh?
It's so bad that I don't think.
Mm.
Anyway,
They
whatever.
probably didn't want to
I've already reviewed
sue them and give them the publicity.
Yeah. So somebody requests that I review Dune, at least the first one, and as I remember, there was a Dune movie out before these, but this is what I got from my library. I will try to get the first one out. I think it was somebody, I can't remember, you know, it's been so long since I watched that, but I'm pretty sure there was a movie out before these Sci-Fi Channel ones.
Well, maybe a long time ago.
It could have been, yeah, in the 80s or something. I can't remember. And
Yeah.
it might have been in the 80s. So I will look into that further. I remember, though, when I watched these on the Sci-Fi Channel, I was like, oh, this is so much better, right? Because they actually, because it's not squeezed into a movie length. It's, there's 3 discs here, and there's, well, really there's the same amount of time, basically, because the 3 discs could have been 2 discs. This is only 2 discs, but there's 3 movie lengths on each of the 3 parts, on this and on this. So, so there's 6 parts. That's a lot of movie lengths. So there's a lot more information. Excuse me. A lot more information that they were able to get into these than in a movie. Now, already with these 2, they changed the story a little bit here, whatever. I did notice that because I had watched these fairly recently. I'm going to get James to watch them and review these ones so that he can give, you know, a different perspective on things. Because just because I don't like it doesn't mean that it's not worth watching or whatever, maybe, right? So, but honestly,
the stuff I've been hearing hasn't been overly impressive, I must say. So, overhearing.
Well, he's been overhearing this. So,
oh, okay.
I don't know, but he might like this newer stuff. Anyway.
Wow. It actually didn't hit the table.
Yeah, that's amazing. Just shoved it over a little bit. So, with this one, there's maybe some better special effects. I don't know. They really put a lot into costumes and stuff like this, into this series.
Which one? Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Like these ones, this came out a long time ago, 2002.
Yeah.
And
Guy's trying to look edgy with the spiky hairstyle.
2003 or something like that. I don't.
It looks kind of old now, the spiky.
Yes, of course. Back then it didn't. And
I guess it didn't. There was Spike on. I mean, he really rocked that look because he had some acting chops, a lot actually, on Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Didn't he have one of those spiky hairstyles and stuff like that?
So,
I mean, it started to get old for me with when Johnny Rotten went out of style, and that was pretty quickly. But I don't know.
But for me, when I'm watching shows, the special effects, I'm like, oh yeah, whatever, that's okay. But I realized this is gonna look cheesy in short order, really. So I don't get blown away by special effects. A lot of people do.
It's always that way with special effects, right?
So yeah. So when I watched this way back when, I didn't really notice the special effects look cheesy, but now they certainly do. Yeah. And even though they would have put a lot into it, it would have been fairly cutting edge back then. And
a lot of money, maybe even a little bit of thought too.
And now I notice things like, oh well, this is obviously done in like a stage, a set or whatever, this part. But back then I really didn't notice, I don't know. But so one thing that I think makes this series better than the new stuff that they're coming up with now, the new Dune stuff, is acting quality.
It makes a difference.
It does make a difference. They really didn't get anybody, any actors for the new series. And
apparently not a priority, eh?
No. So, like this one, they had William Hurt. They had
the real William Hurt. I saw that and I was going, couldn't be, but there we go.
Yeah, he was in this, and Susan Sarandon.
She's got chops. She doesn't have very good taste when it comes to politics, but
so, and some of the others that were in these shows were decent actors too. So they actually did spend some money on that. And some of the special effects, I mean, some of it's pretty cheesy, but some of it, like the architecture and stuff like that, pretty good. I was pretty impressed, even watching it now. So, honestly, if you're going to watch, especially if something comes out recently and you're like, oh yeah, I got to see the new Dune, whatever, and then look back at previous incarnations of the series, and you might actually be impressed. So apparently James was not. But I remember years ago I'd said that I liked, he was trying to get to know me way back when, and he was asking, oh, do you like such and such and such and such and whatever, and I was like, yeah, I like sci-fi and fantasy stuff and whatever, and he's like, well, sci-fi maybe, but fantasy, and he didn't like that so much.
I'm not such a big fan. No. I mean, really, most novels are just fantasy. It's just a different type of fantasy.
Sure.
Recently, I don't know why, I think I wanted to file these books. Probably in the garbage, but I somehow or another ended up with 2 Harlequin romances. They got to have been as free as a bird. And
I don't know how you did that. Yeah. Anyway.
I can't read more than 2 pages at a time. But it's really garbage fantasy. So wow, I swore I was going to get through one in my life. And
a whole romance novel. Well, you might want to look up and see what's the most popular one. So then you can at least look at what everybody else thinks was a decent romance.
I don't think that's an issue, Do people actually? This is a classic.
They probably do.
Yeah, maybe.
There's probably. Anyway, whatever. So, what was I going to say about Dune?
That amazes me. I can say that about Hardy Boys, but well.
Oh, another thing about just fantasy or science fiction in general. More fantasy though, but it creeps up in this too. If you want to write a popular fantasy novel, it looks like it'd be a good idea if you learn how to write a little bit of poetry. Honestly, the stuff that's sold has it in there. You have one character in the, well, actually two. One guy, he speaks in riddles a bit, and his riddles aren't good actually. But I think it takes some skill to craft riddles, really. So maybe don't try that unless you actually can pull it off. But
they do have poetry. A lot of those.
They do.
So there we go.
Yes. So.
And what's your assessment of the usual?
Well, it's usually not very good.
Yeah.
But
she's right.
so you could get away with being a really poor poet, and still, if you stuck it in your fantasy or sci-fi novel, it might help get some sales. So imagine if you actually spent some time learning from James and I, and what you could do then. So you might be able to write something that will last thousands of years that people will still refer back to, just for the poetry alone.
That'd be weird, because it'll be looking back in time. That's what fantasy usually does. And but people will be looking back at people looking back. We do that now with Spencer's The Fairy Queen and stuff like that.
Well, certainly.
Yeah.
And well, there's, I mean, you looking at Dune, they use words like jihad and stuff like that. This is,
I thought I heard something like that.
Yeah, it's based in, the story is set in well, it's a planet. It's not called Dune. It's not Planet Dune. But there's a planet, and it has nothing, basically, except for the most important thing, in the most important commodity in the universe, and it's spice. And the spice,
I thought it'd be oxygen, but who knows? Anyway, go on.
Well, no, because I mean, you can't sell that across different to different people in the universe or whatever.
I guess.
So, or water. I mean, these people on this planet, they worship water because it's just a sandy planet. They don't have a lot of water, and they really have to conserve it. And so they're living out in the desert. And what's there? Oh, these giant worms that, and well, the desert. So it's,
well, the giant worms
really,
are friendly, I guess.
They're not friendly, no. But the giant worms are essential, because where does the spice come from, right?
Wow, there we go.
So they're a very important thing. They're important to the people. They have a culture surrounding this worm. They ride on the worm. They use it for transportation. They, it's tricky because they're not friendly, but sometimes you got to get around, and
sounds like a poorly trained
these worms are really good at it. So there's and there's they have spiritual sort of things that involve the worm, the water from the worm, I guess, apparently. That would be more correct. So yeah, there's.
Do they have worm rodeos?
They do not.
There
you go. Because, for people who are putting out phony Dune stories, maybe there you go. You can have some
worm rodeo. Be like riding a Brahma bull.
Yeah.
Generally, rodeo competitions are boring because, like saddle bronc riding and bareback riding is a bit tougher. The guy's got the advantage over the horse, but with Brahma bull riding?
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah.
Guys are taking their lives into their hands.
Well, Bodacious was
humongous. They had to retire because he was going to kill someone.
Yeah. Anyway. So.
The thing that they do is they twist around, right? They circle around. Horses rarely do that. But the Brahma bulls, they can seem to be able to turn almost on a dime.
So I don't know. Maybe I should talk about the politics involved with Dune. You know, theorize about the different people, whatever. I mean, you have the spice in this, and in anybody watching Dune would go, oh, well, this seems sort of like, maybe it reminds me of the Middle East and the oil, and right? Because even in Dune, somebody mentions it's a sort of fish creature, alien, is talking about, well, we use the spice to pilot our ships or whatever, you know, so it is an energy source. It's also a drug.
Well, for some people, driving cars is a drug.
I suppose that's true.
So they're inebriated even when they're sober, you know. They're speeding around, maybe like pre-adolescence kind of behind the wheel. Sorry.
But no, maybe I'll save that for when James is going to review the Dune stuff later on. I want to show you what I was working on today. So, pretty exciting. Over here, I put this up. So, you can probably even see through the blue stuff at how badly my trees were chewed up. You can see the trunk over there. I didn't have enough of this mesh to wrap around those guys too. So, I don't know, maybe I should, but I have so many trees, and I don't know, I think those cherries, they've really been massacred, honestly. So these guys, the apples, might actually come back, I'm hoping. And the Schubert choke cherry, well, it'll come back from the roots. So right now it's a post to help deter the deer from coming through the yard. And it may still, but we'll see. Because, I mean, they can hop over through pretty easily. But, well, the thing is, I put food. I always set food out for them.
Apples? Yeah,
apples and carrots and such. And honestly, I haven't had any problems with deer going back into the yard further to take a little more of, you know, something that they might want to do. But I used to put things that they don't like onions and stuff, behind the, like, where I didn't want them to go, right? So I'd put the apples and the carrots close to the edge of the yard, and then put the things that they didn't like back a little further, and then they were like, oh, I better just take this apple and carrot and go, right? And I haven't been doing that lately, and I think that's what led to problems, actually.
So this would be like onion skins or parts of onions that maybe got a little bit rotten.
Yeah. So
it's a good idea. I think the other thing is they tend to come here at a certain time of year to find some apples falling down.
Yeah, and
but
this
the big
year they're
apple
having.
Tree is gone.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that's part of it too. They might be thinking, oh, she's cheaping out on the apples, but I'm not. It's just they're not here anymore. So I'm giving them stuff like apple cores and peels and stuff like that mostly that I get from the store, because I don't have my apple tree surplus apples anymore.
Yeah, this apple tree was awesome.
Yeah, it was awesome.
I really feel sentimental.
I know, I haven't taken it down yet because I keep thinking, oh,
like
well, the birds still perch in it, so maybe I should leave it up. But I guess I should take it down sometime, hey?
No, really. I kind of like it.
I mean, the birds would still have the lilacs to perch in. It makes it easier for me to see them.
I think the bigger birds like this tree, it's more like the chickadees and sparrows.
You're right, because I don't think the blue jay has ever perched in the lilacs, just in the apple.
It wouldn't be able to bustle through the rather thick foliage.
Maybe. Anyway, that's all I had to talk about. So expect another episode of Dinner and a Movie featuring Dune at some point. Yeah, well, I don't know when. Whenever James gets around to watching these things.
And I don't be looking for anything tomorrow because it's supposed to be snowing.
Yeah.
Hard to conceive of that.
I know, it's so beautiful right now.
Seems
but
like it's in
that's
mid-teens.
how it is, you know.
Well, it's Canada.
Yep. And it's getting quite late into October.
Second half of October.
Yeah. So we've really been blessed. I'm very thankful for this wonderful weather that we've had. And really that deer there's no excuse for what that deer did, because there's still plenty of food that the deer could be eating.
I think so.
Didn't have to go after. I think that deer was just annoyed that I didn't have more apples and stuff put out for him.
But was taking out future apple trees, right?
I know. Not very smart.
Well,
but
who knows what they understand.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I think they do understand. I think he's saying, well, you don't give apples to me, I'm not going to let you have apples. And that's why he's taken down the fruit trees. But
we share with him.
We share, so don't let me have
Cherries,
them. You're not going to get them either.
Sometimes we don't pick the cherries and we let the birds have them. Yep. I'm not a big fan of people walking by me house taking their cherries.
All right, so that's that.